Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Wednesday, November the 13th. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for hanging out. We're happy to have you here for another episode of this primetime program. Sneed, L'Jarius Sneed, he spoke, he was found, he was seen in the locker room for the first time in what feels like a month. So in the absence of, just another tired will or won't Will Levis do it this week or that week or whatever, which I think has become a bit tired for all of us, why don't we talk about the Titans corner, one of their biggest investments of the offseason, and what the deal is, where he's been, why it's taken so long, why there's still no outright clarity on whether or not he will be available. I figured since we've run the Levis thing into the ground for the meantime, and there will be plenty more Levis topics to come, I'm quite certain, why don't we turn our attention to something different tonight and talk about L'Jarius Sneed? So you'll hear from him. You'll also hear from Will Levis on Calvin Ridley, because we'll take a look at basically the big ticket items that the Titans acquired this offseason. There's three that come to mind in free agency and via trade. You can probably guess which ones they are, and we'll evaluate how each of those three at the top of their respective markets has performed relative to expectation. Wednesday means rising and falling, so we'll do that at the end of the show. And we are looking forward to doing all of these things with you throughout the course of the evening. Before we get started, need you guys to share the broadcast around Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Also, by the way, keeping an eye on college basketball. Tennessee is up 48-35 at home against Mark Mariani's Montana Grizzlies. Right now, 17:08 and counting to play in the second half of that game. So if you're a Vols basketball fan, we'll keep tabs on that, and we'll work our way through all of these things. But share the show around Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, wherever you're spending your time with us. We would be grateful if you shared the broadcast around, retweet it on Twitter, Facebook Live. You can share now to public. That's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And if you're on YouTube or Twitch, please subscribe to the channel, throw a like, that little thumbs up button, hit that like button on YouTube or Twitch, and subscribe to the channel while you're there, like I said, and we would be eternally in your debt, as we always are, because you guys keep us afloat around here. But even more so, when you like the video, it really does help if you are interested in further supporting everything that the A to Z Sports Digital Network does. With that said, we'll go ahead and dive into these things together, and we'll have a conversation about how much, if at all, L'Jarius Sneed might be able to help the situation for the Titans as they get ready to take on yet another quality opponent, the 7-2 Minnesota Vikings, coming to town. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by Zen Sports. Use the promo code ATOZTN. Get in on all the action. Up to $100 on your no danger first wager at zensports.com. Of course, you know that the best place to go for your workout is TrueMath Fitness. TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. No workout ever recycled or repeated. Just the best facility and training staff and workout programming out there. TrueMathFitness.com for more information. Of course, you know that Two Rivers Ford always makes basically everything associated with me possible. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more information. The South's most trusted Ford dealer. All right. So practice today. You go to the locker room, you watch practice. They're in the bubble. And given the circumstances for this team at 2-7, you understand, all right, this is going to be a slog dealing with these players, talking about games that aren't meaningless yet. They have not been mathematically eliminated yet, but that are not getting any easier, and they are going to need substantial improvement if they're going to make any legitimate progress down the stretch run here. And they can make legitimate progress, even if you're rooting today for the best possible draft pick, as we've talked about before. By the way, I don't know how many of you saw Deion Sanders' appearance on Fox Sports today, where he's saying that he will not publicly alter the situation for his son and Travis Hunter if he doesn't like the organization that they're getting drafted to, but he will privately work behind the scenes to make sure that both of those players end up in the best possible position. And I would not doubt Dion at his word. So even if you get the best possible draft pick, maybe you're not a Shedeur Sanders guy or a Travis Hunter guy. If you're not a Travis Hunter guy, I don't know what you're doing. But something to keep in mind, may not matter how high your draft pick is, how good your draft pick is, if Deion Sanders decides to Eli Manning his situation for Travis Hunter and for his son Shedeur. So worth keeping an eye on there. In the meantime, this team has more problems than just the offense. They have been banged up on defense, and they've been struggling in particular as a red zone unit. And so L'Jarius Sneed was paid to be here and to be a part of the solution. And it's been since Indianapolis since we've seen L'Jarius Sneed play. It's been a full month since we've seen the Titans' top acquisition on defense of the offseason be available, be healthy, participate in the defense, and try and make his impact felt. They have more issues than just missing their top corner, though certainly all things are better when your best players are available. And L'Jarius Sneed has not been available for some time. So the question I want to ask you guys this evening, your Two Rivers Ford take, as is the custom on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch, what is your level of concern for L'Jarius Sneed's lingering quad injury? We did get an injury report today for what it's worth. And on that injury report, L'Jarius Sneed was DNP, dealing with that quad. So that would make now heading into his 5th straight week of practice where he would be not available to practice. And again, like I said, I'm going to let you hear from him in the locker room today because it's the first time that we've had the opportunity to talk to him. Ryan Callahan has called his situation week to week. But what is your level of concern on a scale of 1 to 10 about L'Jarius Sneed's lingering quad injury at this point? You guys give me your number. I'll give you mine here in just a second, right after I remind you that the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage makes the Primetime Show possible. The official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators. Don't sell without the intel at GaryAshton.com. Here is L'Jarius Sneed speaking with several members of Titans media today about this lingering injury and how close he might be to a return.
What's the story, you think? How long? You think you're ready to come back, or?
Just taking it day by day.
Day by day? Does this surprise you?
Unfortunately.
Does this surprise you how long it's been?
Yeah. Very surprising.
You disappointed?
Very disappointed.
How much of a difference could you be making if you're out there?
I'm not sure because I'm not out there.
When it first happened, it felt like kind of a day-to-day thing. I guess how long did it take for you to get that MRI in and realize that it was going to be more extended than you originally thought?
I knew it was something,
Immediately you felt like it was something?
I immediately felt there was something. Just tried to stay the course, but, things happen.
Yeah.
What has the process been like for you since you
It's been tough. Yeah. It's been hard because I want to be out there to help my brothers, my teammates, and it's been kind of challenging for me that I can't get out there, come into my first year into organization, trying to make a name for myself here, get respect here. It's been kind of challenging, frustrating.
What are you able to do right now?
Right now I'm able to go to meetings, help the young guys who never been in a position to play as many plays as they plan. I help them along the way throughout the week. Send them my notes. They just try to slow the game down for them.
But you're not doing anything on the field at this point? Really?
No.
Have a timeout?
I don't have a timeout right now.
So he's not able to do anything on the field at all right now, which again would not lend itself to L'Jarius Sneed being available in week 11 against the Minnesota Vikings. So again, what is the nature of this injury? Because they diagnosed it as a quad bruise initially. Apparently the MRI revealed that it was more of a quad strain. Now, I myself have never had an injury with my quad, so perhaps it's trickier than I realize, or maybe some of you can speak from experience. Obviously, as far as I know, none of us are former professional athletes or current professional athletes in the comment section. So maybe none of us have the experience to be able to speak with any level of intelligence on just how difficult it is to come back from a quad injury and maybe how specifically that might impact a corner. I don't think we have the medical expertise to do those things, though A to Z Sports does do doc talks on a regular basis, and I'm not sure if Sneed's quad has been the subject of one or not, but that would be an interesting level of discussion. Now, here's the thing about L'Jarius Sneed, because it's not an injured reserve stint, right? So they've been working through it week by week, day by day, as he says. And he said, I'll take him at his word. He's frustrated that he can't be out there to help his brothers. And he's asked what difference would he be able to make. And he's, candid about it. I have no idea what difference I'd be able to make because I'm not out there to make a difference. So it's difficult to entertain those hypotheticals. Level of concern on a scale of 1 to 10. I mean, they're 2-8. They're 2-7, soon to be 2-8. One would imagine it would be tough to see a world where they beat the Vikings at home on Sunday, but we'll see, I suppose. My level of concern would be low because their season is largely out of hand. It's not done yet outright, but their season is largely out of hand, and you're not like horrible for playing Jarvis Brownlee Jr. or Baker, the other corner who's been seeing a lot of action here in the last couple of weeks without L'Jarius Sneed and Cheeto Awuzie available in the lineup. My concern level would probably be, it would be above a 5. It would be a 6, but it's not because of like, well, they desperately need him back this season. How can they play football without L'Jarius Sneed? I mean, they're going to play football without L'Jarius Sneed, and they'll probably be a less than team in the meantime. Not to like completely wave the white flag on them, but we understand just how competitive or not competitive this team is, especially hosting a team that's as good as the Vikings expect to be, even though Minnesota has seen a bit of a drop-off, especially at the quarterback position. Sam Darnold also dealing with an injury today. In fact, Sam Darnold, if I'm not mistaken, was on the injury report with a right hand injury, which would be a problem if you're a quarterback. He was a limited participant for Minnesota today. So again, it's not impossible. It's just improbable. I would say a 6, though, because it's a huge investment. It's a huge investment in L'Jarius Sneed. It's also a huge investment in Cheeto Awuzie. Cheeto Awuzie makes just about $12 million a year, which is solid corner money. You got $7.5 million guaranteed from this organization. L'Jarius Sneed's contract averages out to be about $17.6 million a year. And he is, still collecting most of his money at this point, despite not contributing. So my issue comes back to one of the questions that I had around their free agent spending strategy or their offseason acquisition strategy, which we'll talk about here in just a second, which is the most high variance position in the NFL. What would you consider it to be? Like the position that comes with the greatest peaks and valleys at any point in NFL football, because I would argue that it's cornerback, not just because the position is difficult to play, but because the officiating does not help the degree of difficulty for playing defensive back generally, but corner in particular. And also you have to be a very, very high-level athlete to play corner at a high level in the NFL. And even then, you're still going to get beat at times. So there is variance no matter how good or bad a corner you are. It's a lot of money to pour into that big of or that position specifically, because you understand that it's not going to be consistent, always consistent, or as consistent as you'd like it to be. You understand that you're going to have to live with some of these dips, some of these explosive plays that any corner in the NFL, no matter how good or bad they are going to allow in certain points. I think that with Sneed in particular, my level of concern would be a 6 because of the investment. Because they had a plan that and again, it's not his knees, so it's not a part of the injury situation or the health situation, not an injury, but a health situation that L'Jarius Sneed has been dealing with and has a specific management program for. It's different than what his health situation around his knees is. This is a quad strain in particular. But that you're already missing time from a player that you invested a lot of money in to be a cornerstone foundational piece type of player for your football team, and that the product is 2-7 with or without him at this point. It's just a really difficult thing to kind of to not have some level of concern about, even if your level of concern for this season is, well, it's not, I have no concern at all. Maybe you're somebody, because I see a couple of people saying like a 3 on their level of concern because the season is done. And so shut him down, as Jack Tripper says, trust the tank. I think tanking is garbage. I believe tanking is for losers. I understand why fans still root for it, but you will understand also, if I understand your position, you have to understand mine, which is that tanking cannot be tolerated, advocated for, or encouraged, even if you desperately want the best possible draft pick, again, which I understand. You can't actively encourage any kind of situation that would directly correlate to losing football games. But for me, I'd say a 6 because of the money involved, because he's a player that already had a condition around him coming in, and now we're talking about him missing more than a month. We'll see what his status is for Sunday. It's too early in the week to make any determinations, obviously, but if he's still not able to do anything at all on the field, then that would lend itself to questionable at best for Sunday's game against Minnesota. We'll see how the rest of the week goes for L'Jarius Sneed. So let's take a look at the 3 big ticket items that they went out and acquired this offseason, because Sneed is one of them. The other is Calvin Ridley and his 4-year, $92 million deal. The third is Lloyd Cushenberry, the most guaranteed money for a center in NFL history, when they gave him $25 million guaranteed on the 4-year contract that he signed. For those 3 big ticket items, how would you grade the Titans' off-season acquisitions if you're just talking about those 3, Sneed, Ridley, and Cushenberry, the big money additions that this team acquired? How would you grade their performance now that we are more than halfway through this NFL season? A through F. We'll keep it real simple. You'll hear from Will Levis on Calvin Ridley shortly, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is also made possible by the great people at Zen Sports, and Zen Sports always has an offer for you, and this offer gets you the opportunity to win tickets to the big game. It's the big game sweepstakes. We could win a grand prize of 2 tickets to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, or $10,000 cash. If you want in on the action, you can earn multiple entries every day just by betting on the Zen Sports app, and for every bet you place, you will earn 1 entry. For every dollar you bet, you earn an additional entry. And if you like parlays, you can earn double the entries on every parlay placed. Zen Sports, where betting just got better. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. No danger first wager, limited to plus 500 odds to qualify. Terms and conditions also apply. Must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports. All right. Grade A through F, the Titans' offseason acquisitions, the big ticket items, Sneed, Ridley, and Cushenberry, how they've fared. When you look at what Calvin Ridley, let's specifically look at Calvin Ridley and talk about what he has been able to produce, because obviously that has improved over the course of the last couple of weeks. So you have to take the entire picture of what's happened here, not just limit it to the disappointing start that he's had. So they're not game-breaking numbers in these 9 games that he's played in. 32 receptions, 483 yards, 3 touchdowns on the year, and that obviously has gotten a lot better in the last 3 weeks, where he's got 10 games with 10 receptions, 5 and 5. The targets do kind of waver here in the last couple of weeks, since he had that game where he was targeted 8 times without a single catch against the Indianapolis Colts in the game that they lost 20-17. He had 3 catches on 9 targets against Buffalo. He had 10 catches on 15 targets for 143 yards in Detroit, though we understand how that game went sideways. 5 for 73 on 8 targets in the New England game, and 5 for 84 with the 2 touchdowns on 9 targets in the 10-point loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. So Calvin Ridley has started to improve. Then we can take a look at, for example, L'Jarius Sneed, who has played in far fewer games at this point, because Calvin Ridley has been available for all of the games this season. L'Jarius Sneed has only appeared in 5. He does not have an interception. He is not credited, at least according to Pro Football Reference, with a pass defense so far either. He has at least he has had 2 tackles for loss this season. He has had a total of, somewhere between 20 and 25, it seems, combined tackles. At this point, they're not using him on pressure, so he doesn't have a sack or a quarterback hit right now. But L'Jarius Sneed is somebody who's not overwhelmingly targeted, though he has seen a few more targets than he did when he was in Kansas City. It seems like teams are willing to go in Sneed's direction because sometimes he'll get beat, and sometimes the quarterback will just miss on the reception, or sometimes the receiver will not be in lockstep with the quarterback on the passing concept that they're trying to execute, and sometimes there will just be a drop. But L'Jarius Sneed has been targeted this year at a rate that he's probably not quite used to in the 5 games that he's played in. So you look at L'Jarius Sneed, you look at Calvin Ridley, and then you look at Lloyd Cushenberry, who also comes in here as one of the big ticket items for the Tennessee Titans. His year is done, so he will not be playing any more football, but he did appear and start in 8 games. He seems to be the anchor of your offensive line moving forward. I don't know if he's going to be as good as Ben Jones was for as long as Ben Jones was good. By the way, Ben Jones on the radio show on Friday. We're going to be doing the radio show from Hattie B's at the factory in Franklin with Ben. So if you want to come hang out, we're talking a lot of college football, a lot of Vols and Georgia, given that Ben is a Georgia alum and Georgia is coming off a terrible loss. Not a terrible loss, but a bad loss, a bad performance against Ole Miss. And this is an elimination game, certainly for Georgia, against Tennessee. So we'll look forward to having Ben on the radio show. You can come hang out with us at Hattie B's in Franklin if you're so inclined from 10 to 1. Cushenberry, feel good about. Ridley, you're feeling better about. Sneed is probably the one that you have the most suspicion about right now because both he comes with a qualifier of a health condition, and now he has missed significant time due to injury and probably is likely to miss more time throughout the course of this season. Titan Kong says it's clearly an A. We won the offseason easily. Well, maybe so. Winning the offseason doesn't win you football games, though, and I know you're probably saying that tongue-in-cheek. But, yeah, it's one thing to win the offseason. It's another thing to make all the parts and pieces that you went out and acquired work. All 3 have still underachieved, says Anthony. I don't know that I feel that way about Cushenberry. I understand why you would feel that way about Ridley, and certainly Sneed has been a disappointment so far. Calvin Ridley, and then it took him that long in the season to kind of get going, and that there's still some miscues from time to time. Not the end of the world. Cordy Jackson gives them his very generous grade, a B-. John Vargas says C. C- for Anthony, C+ for Benjamin. Clayton is giving each of them individual grades. Cush B, Ridley C-, Sneed F. At this point, Dashville Tube says a D-. Stephen King says T for Tank. I would have a hard time giving them more than a C. I think that I would probably trend C-. So what's a C-? A C- is like a 70 to 74, if I remember my grading scales correctly, somewhere in there. So somewhere between, probably closer to a 70 than I would a 74%. As far as what they accomplished this offseason, what they set out to accomplish, and what they've actually accomplished this offseason, because it's been an availability thing for Sneed. Obviously, Ridley, the production has just now started, and Cushenberry makes all the sense in the world. He's been the best of the 3 of them, but the fact that he's going to miss the rest of the season is concerning because it is likely to set back the offense's progress and also the quarterback's progress. Plus, it's an Achilles injury, which is a huge deal. Not so much for an offensive lineman. They do rely on their athleticism, not so much for an interior offensive lineman. I guess that's not the end of the world, but that's a full year injury, more likely than not. And that happened to him in the first weekend of November. So that might be a slow burn on Lloyd Cushenberry. And you have to factor that into the investment when you put him on injured reserve and understand that you're not going to have him for at least a calendar year. MB says it's way too soon. If these were 1-year deals, then maybe, but these are multi-year deals. No, I disagree. I don't understand why you would want to lower the bar on them that way. When you spend as much money as this team did, I don't think it's unfair at all to expect an instant impact. And the impact has been, I don't want to say negligible. Negligible wouldn't give them enough credit, but the impact has been underwhelming. Right? If you take all 3 of them on aggregate, the impact has been underwhelming, though at least in the case of Ridley, that's helping. That's making you feel a little better about his future viability. So I understand your point, but I disagree with the notion, because I don't think that we should lower the standard when you spend as much money as this team did, when as much guaranteed money was handed out as this team did, and understand that the product itself is a losing one, and not just a losing one, but it's been getting its doors kicked in on a pretty regular basis. Like Sunday was a double-digit loss, and it didn't feel like the worst loss of the season, obviously, but it still shows you just how far you are away from some of the even middle class of the AFC. And that should not be the case for, again, as much money as this team spent. So my offseason grade would be a C- at best. I'd probably go 70 at that point. Damn, I remember when that was a D. I think I'm right on that. I thought D was like a D- was 60 to 64. A D was a 65, and then 65 and up was a D+, if I'm not mistaken. But maybe it's been a while since I've gotten a number grade or a percentage grade on any kind of assignment. Perhaps more of us should get graded on our assignments on a regular basis. I mean, you guys have the opportunity to grade me anytime you want, I suppose, which I don't think I would like very much. But even still, I think that's probably pretty close to the range that I'm looking for. Anyway, rising and falling is how we'll wrap up. Whose stock rose, whose stock fell this week in sports? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch in the comment section. While you guys dig into that, you give me your rising candidates and your falling candidates. I'll remind you that the place to rise, to get your fitness journey on the rise, to get the best possible version of you, is TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch. No workout recycled, no workout repeated, an awesome coaching staff, a state-of-the-art facility, and an open gym concept for you to work out as you please if you are not interested in personal training or their group fitness classes. I love the group fitness classes. I love the circuit training because it gets you in and out of there in about 40 to 45 minutes tops. Gets a great workout in and keeps your day moving. You work on a different part of your body every day, whether it's conditioning, whether it's upper body, lower body, core, strength training, all manner of different opportunities for you to improve your physical fitness, and by nature of that, improve your health. Go to TrueMavFitness.com for your first workout free. Whose stock rose, whose stock fell this week in sports? Stock up, winner of the Vols in Georgia. Well, it hasn't happened yet. But I would say Georgia's stock down. Georgia falling to 12 in the college football playoff rankings last night was a huge upset, because it means if Tennessee loses, they're probably on the outside looking in of the college football playoff, which would be a huge loss. And of course, if Georgia lost, they would be a 3-loss team and they would be out of the college football playoff picture. Certainly. So stock up Georgia, and frankly, stock down Georgia, and also stock down the Vols. I think the committee hurt them in a way that would put them in a less advantageous position to succeed, which I know disappoints people at this point. Crypto Trucking just says the Tennessee Titans are trash. Well, yeah. I mean, at 2-7, hard to argue certainly against that. So I would say their stock continues to fall. Stephen King says rising, Buck, because his beard line is flawless. Falling, Bert, because we need more shirtless Bert. Well, he's, as far as I can tell, he's shirtless right now. He's twirling his long red locks whilst playing video games and not paying attention to what I'm saying. So don't just trust and know that shirtless Bert is there for you, even if he's not visible to the, no pun intended, naked eye. But my stock down candidate would be the Indianapolis Colts, because stock up on Anthony Richardson, who returns to the lineup this week. Oh, by the way, I meant to play this clip on Will Levis talking about Calvin Ridley, because I do think that there is some stock down notion to Will Levis, even though he's coming off his best performance of the year and still lost by 10.
Oh, well, it's just making those plays when the opportunity presents itself, and it's me doing a better job, which I feel like I have done, of understanding when that opportunity is there. The first touchdown, I feel like that was a good example of it. Could have taken underneath the ball there, but how I felt the structure of the defense, I knew we had a chance to get over the top. I knew I had time to. I felt really good protection, so I was able to hold on a little bit and let it go. So those are things that come up that I'm going to have to continue to keep getting better at this offense.
And with that game, like, you did a good job, on that throw you mentioned, holding the safety so that would open up. Is that an example of you kind of like taking the next level? And if so, like what are some of the other things you could do to take that next step that you need to take?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I was kind of doing a little too much on that rep. Like, I could have got it done without even the little shoulder turn, whatever. But, there's certain plays where, if you're at the end of the game, you got to, maybe squeeze the ball in on that second level, or you're going to try to move somebody on that first level where that can come up. But, that's not something you're necessarily going to be wanting to do at the jump. First series, you take those throws when you get there, and you react to how the defense reacts throughout the game. So just got to keep getting better at knowing those situations and making throws when you present yourself.
So that's Will Levis, who is coming off the best performance of the season. So stock up for Will Levis, but the best performance again is, a underwhelming performance, a conservative performance, a safe performance, which is progress for him. But in a 10-point loss is tough. And then the other one is stock up Anthony Richardson because he's back in the Colts starting lineup, but stock down on the Colts because they don't know what the hell they're doing at quarterback.
Just show that I'm willing to be a pro. I'm willing to sacrifice anything that I need to do for the team. I feel like these past 2 weeks has definitely opened my eyes and allowed me to have the opportunity to do that and just take a deeper dive and look into myself and see what I'm really made of. So I'm thankful for these past 2 weeks, and I'm low-key glad they happened.
Anthony, I know it couldn't be easy for you to sit out those 2 games here and not start. How thrilled are you to have this opportunity here and try to lead this team to a victory this weekend?
As a competitor, you never want to just be on the sideline. You always feel like there's an opportunity for you to go out there and help the team. But just sitting on the sideline, it just allowed me just to, just look and see the certain things I could, correct about myself. Certain things that the team needed help with. And I'm just forever grateful for the opportunity. I'm glad that Shane felt like I'm the guy again once again. So, like I said, I'm just forever grateful and I'm just thankful.
Were you surprised to learn that there were?
So that's Anthony Richardson, who's returning to the lineup this week against the Jets, even as like 3 days ago, Shane Steichen was just on record saying that Flacco would again start at quarterback. So tough scene for a couple of quarterbacks in the AFC South this year. Been a tough year for the AFC South quarterbacks. But yeah, CJ Stroud included. He's not had a stellar performance, even though they are 6-4 right now. That's going to do it for us tonight on the radio show. Tomorrow we will have Josh Pate of Josh Pate's College Football Show. We will have Matt Murphy of WTN, noted Georgia Bulldogs fan and reputed speaker, talker, shit talker, I would say. Matt Murphy is going to be a good time, so we hope that you will tune in from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. Like I said, we'll be out at Hattie B's on Friday in Franklin with Ben Jones. So if you're interested, come hang out, talk some shop, talk some college football, because we'll probably have more fun talking college football than we will Titans football. But that's neither here nor there. That'll be 10 to 1 at the factory in Franklin at their Hattie B's location. Have a great rest of your night, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on the radio show.